There was a point in my life when I was just totally distracted by everything that everyone would say to me. But then when I learned about Freud's psychoanalytic theory and defense mechanisms, I stopped taking everything so seriously in regards to everything that was previously a distraction, everything that people would say to me, right? I saw it for what it was, right? Defense mechanisms. Whenever somebody would come to me with something that appeared to have something to do with me, right, back then, I didn't really know what defense mechanisms were. I didn't know what projections and displacements were. So previously, I mistook everything that everyone said to me to have everything to do with me, and it confused the hell out of me. It really did. It actually, again, like I was saying before, it distracted me. It caused me to believe that I had to change something about myself, and that there was something about me that just like wasn't right, right? And then the more that I learned about psychoanalytic theory, the id, the ego, and the superego, and that entire balance and how things work in regards to that, and then defense mechanisms, I really started to see that, and not only that, but also boundaries, right? Understanding myself, self-awareness, understanding what it is that messed me up, what traumatized me, that's totally necessary to be able to socialize with people. Because I'll tell you right now, not just in my own experiences, it's a matter of awareness, right? Consider the capacity to see this stuff as a matter of self-awareness, right? If a person is not self-aware, when they go into social situations, social settings, and they're talking with people, and maybe the person says, a person or another person or people say something about this person, right? Depending on how self-aware a person is, they're either going to be able to be like, oh, well, that's their shit, not mine. Or they're not. And if they don't have that ability, that capacity, more or less, they're going to be screwed, because they're going to take on a bunch of things that actually have nothing to do with them. And this was the very thing that was such a distraction for me throughout a far majority of my life. Imagine that. Imagine going into situations, social settings with people where they just project their insecurities onto you nonstop. And because you're not self-aware, you take it all. More or less, you're a canvas for their own self-destruction, their own self-tendencies. It's a very strange thing to, like, not be aware of yourself. Like, now, with this level of self-awareness that I have, and by the way, I'm not claiming myself to be superior or high and mighty, no. This is actually a very humbling experience, filled with gratitude, too, because, oh my goodness, it is like a prison to not be aware of the self, to not have conscious boundaries, to be able to set those boundaries and then see how people behave around those boundaries, right? It is a prison to not be aware of the self, because when you're not aware of the self, then you're not aware of what is your stuff. If you're not aware of what is your stuff and you go into a social setting with somebody else or multiple people, right, and they project all of their stuff, all of their insecurities, their pain, everything onto you, and you don't have the capacity to be able to sift through and be like, all right, here we go. I'm going to take this time to look at that and look at that and look at that. Yeah, no, that's not mine. That's yours. Here we go. Take that back. Dang, you're good. You're skilled. All right, you saw something that is mine. I'm going to take that. I'm going to put it right here. Like, it takes self-awareness and it takes skill to be able to recognize those things and to be actually to be able to actually in the moment like look at that stuff and be like, yeah, nope, not mine, bud, you're gonna take that one back. That one, I suppose that one is both of ours. Yeah, I'll take that back to myself and I'll work on that. And yeah, you know, earlier on in my life, like I was saying before, I was very distracted because I didn't have the level of self-awareness that I do now, where I'm able to like actually, you know, for starters, boundaries, right? Not everyone has healthy boundaries. I would argue that based on a video that I made the other day, a majority of people have like permeable or rigid boundaries. I'm not going to be able to connect with people that have rigid boundaries because it's just a fucking wall. But people that have permeable boundaries, right? They have less of a matter of a distinction between self and other. So therefore, you're just their fucking canvas, and that's what it is, right? So they're just gonna slash you, and that's it. And that's what a majority of people that don't know themselves experience with other people that also don't know themselves and don't have healthy boundaries. Because when a person has healthy boundaries, they don't really project or displace. They know what is their shit and what is maybe not other people's shit, but they know enough to not give other people their shit, right? Which is another thing that makes people that have healthy boundaries so attractive, because projections and displacements are not attractive. They show that a person doesn't have the healthy boundaries and limits to not give somebody else what is their own shit, right? And so this is going back to what I was saying before in terms of distractions that I've experienced earlier on in my life. The distractions really came from me not being self-aware enough to understand what it is that was my stuff and what it is that wasn't my stuff. When you are not self-aware, you're going to take other people's projections and displacements and their defense mechanisms because you don't really know yourself. You don't really have established healthy boundaries that help you differentiate, one of the key words here in terms of ego development, differentiate between self and other. So I was so distracted earlier on in life because a majority of the things that people projected onto me, I mistook and confused as my stuff when it wasn't my stuff. So I just took on a bunch of stuff that I didn't need to, and it led to a massive amount of confusion, but as well, distraction. I was distracted from myself by other people's stuff that I ended up unnecessarily taking on as my own stuff. And man, that sucked. That seriously sucked. It really did. I'm grateful that I see it now for what it is and that I can actually distinguish, you know, like, it's a really cool thing to be in a social setting with somebody or multiple people and just see exactly what it is that they're doing. But this can only happen when a person knows themselves, right? Because if you don't know yourself and somebody is projecting onto you, there's a good chance that you might take that projection on as your own insecurity, your own stuff, your own shit, your own matter, your own material. So it's really important to be able to be like, oh, I just caught you. Okay, that is yellow? I don't know. That is blood red. Yeah, no, that's not mine. I'm gonna get that back to you. And that, what is that? Whoa. That might be mine. You're good. Might be both of ours. Here, let's look at that more, right? That skill in and of itself saves a person a lot of time and energy. Other than that, it's just distraction. Other than that, it's lack of self-awareness. Other than that, it's going down roads you don't need to go down because whatever the person gave to you was not yours to begin with, but because you were not aware enough of yourself, it messed everything up.